how to structure the collaboration between different industries which are going through the transformation. Because we've heard so many times that IT sector goes through transformation, but how to enable this, how to make this happen, how to help both industries to work together. And these are the angles which we've been exploring, working in the small group which I have initiated under umbrella of the Council for the Digital Skills. Right now it's easy to say something is under transformation, but how to figure this out? What to do to check if any industry is approaching digital transformation? And there are some tools, very often used by consultants, but basically everybody can do the model, can run the model, or can check what's written over the internet. Well, maybe filtering a little bit of fake news out of the picture. And the model is Porter Plus model. And here I brought first the comments from a couple of previous years, let's say 5 years, maybe 7 years ago. The picture of the industry was, oh, great industry to leave. Low probability of new competitors, new entrants. Low power of suppliers, big car manufacturers controlled the value chain and they really dictated how to organize the whole industry. Government regulations were neutral to positive. Well, when the crisis came, a lot of governments started subsidizing cars just to help the economy. And buyers' attitude was really favorable. People loved cars, and many people still do. And from perspective of the competition, it was really the competition about bigger companies taking over the smaller companies and bigger becoming even bigger. Nice industry to work on. But what happened over a couple of years? So first of all, if you take a look at the picture of competition, there are new entrants. Tesla started doing cars, well, out of the blue. There are companies like Google with Waymo project, or there are companies like Apple, and people are speculating about the Titan project and when they are going to introduce a new car. There are new suppliers with high power from tech industry. The car became connected, very much saturated with IT technologies. And suddenly IT companies started to be very important part of the car ecosystem. And these companies are pretty big. So, well, just to give you the comparison, if you take a look at cash reserves, so not debt which the companies can borrow, but cash reserves of big IT companies like Apple, they have enough money to go to the board of BMW, for example, and or to the stock and to say, well, today I would like to buy the whole BMW with my cash reserves. The market valuation of BMW is around of 74, 75 billion. The cash reserves for Google are even bigger than that. So these tech companies, they have really huge power and huge influence. The second thing is that the regulations started to change. The industry, which was very much loved by the governments right now, is, well, a little bit questioned, and we just heard about all of the scandals. We've heard about the regulations regarding green. There is also the whole notion of sharing economy and so on and so forth. So basically, the environment for the industry is changing a lot, and including also the public attitude. And the last thing is that the pace of change in this industry accelerated enormously. And right now, when we buy the new car, from perspective of all of the tech features, it can be outdated even after a year or maybe 2 years. So this is the reason why companies start to think how to upgrade the cars in the course of using. So when the industry is in such shape, it means that there is huge opportunity for the change. And that's really opportunity. That's opportunity for the new companies to enter. That's opportunity for people coming with new ideas, which makes the automotive industry a very, very interesting place to live. A lot of entrants are coming from tech sector. And that's the picture, the ecosystem of the connected car. And when we had the Continental presentation, we had the view of automotive companies. So basically, they were on the left-hand side, and they were trying to map and to facilitate the discussion across the whole industry. I believe the picture is slightly different. Right now, I don't think that there is one center which defines where the car industry is going. It's really the network, it's really the whole ecosystem of the companies working together. So if you take a look at the bottom automotive OEMs, just one, this is just one of the boxes. A lot of innovation will come from all over the ecosystem. And this is one thing which the new industry needs to learn, is how to work across the whole ecosystem. How to work with hundreds or thousands of companies. How to leverage the efforts and the brain power of the ecosystem, which is uncontrolled directly and much, much bigger than the size of IT, than the size of automotive industry. And clearly, and I will give you the examples later on, the power of this ecosystem can be applied for development of automotive. Well, there is the famous Gartner Curve, and I'm using this to show how also a discussion is influenced and how debate is shaped. Because right now, when we let's take the example of autonomous cars. I would say a year or two, it was really at the peak of inflated expectations. Everybody was talking about autonomous cars, and it was one of the hottest topics for the tech discussion. Right now, I think that this place has been taken by artificial intelligence. So where is autonomous driving right now? I think this is going through disillusionment. And people started understanding it's not so easy, it takes time. But I would also say that there are some applications which are going towards the slope of enlightenment. So pretty quickly, these things will become the mature technologies. And what is also very important, especially when we are in this disillusionment phase, is not to lose the belief in the faith in the technology, because the technology will bring a lot of great stuff, and we shouldn't take for granted the research, which, for example, says 70% of drivers prefer to drive by themselves when they were offered autonomous cars. Well, that was the pool of opinion. People have never tried autonomous car, and their attitude most probably will change when they will start experimenting with the cars. And that's easy to ask for opinion, and then to say that there won't be any demand for the car and people will drive the cars by themselves. There are the trends which are shaping the car industry, and there is one thing which is really important. All of these things highly depend on IT, highly depend on ICT industry. So, in fact, that's one of the very nice industries which experience this intersection with technology, and this is one of the industries where there is a great potential for even bigger collaboration between IT world, the world of high-tech companies, and the whole world of automotive companies. So, how to look at this from perspective of skills and skills development? So, first of all, we need specialists which are going to work on this intersection of these two companies, from these two industries. From perspective of IT, what is important is the supply of talent, supply of engineers. So if you would like to work in this industry, so the first question is it a good idea? So I believe it's a great idea to go towards IT right now because in Poland we have not enough IT specialists. And well, you think that IT is one of the coolest faculties to study, maybe. But if you take a look at the economy, in Polish economy we have, as the percentage of the working population, 2.8% of ICT specialists. In other countries, it's like Finland, close to 7, or sorry, close to 8. In UK, it's 5.1. In Germany, it's almost 5. And in Poland, we have plenty of companies which work in the model of the software houses, where they offer their work for the companies, for their partners, which are usually foreign companies. Means, for the economy, there is even less than 2.8% of specialists. So I may say that we need to at least double the number of ICT specialists to satisfy the demand of international collaboration and to satisfy the demand of local IT companies which work for the development of the economy. Actually, I wouldn't do so much between international and local. Basically, we need at least 2 times greater share of ICT specialists to start moving things in the economy. The other thing is the profile of skills which these people should have. So you know, it's already great to become an ICT specialist because the demand will be for next couple of years. But now the question is, what should be the mix of competencies? And there is British foundation, which is called Skills for Information Age Foundation, which built that structure, and they described what levels or what types of competencies needs to be developed for within ICT industry. So the first one is computer science competencies, and this is about building algorithms. It's about building the foundations for research, for logic of developing the products and the systems. It's really about the theory. The second level is information and communication technology. It is about the systems. And the third level is about the modern applications of IT technologies, and this is where also all of these transformational technologies are taken under consideration. And the question is, how in Poland, Polish universities fit their teaching to this structure. And that is the ranking which shows how the universities worldwide can be compared. And looking at this ranking, we can see that from perspective of the, and I took artificial intelligence as the proxy for the transformation. So from that perspective, well, Polish universities are at the places 179 and 261. Computer systems, 170. However, if we take a look at computer science, University of Warsaw is number 4, University of Wrocław is number 36, which means that basically from perspective of these theoretical foundations for ICT, Polish engineers are among best in the world. However, they not necessarily progress, and they not so easily develop the skills towards systems and towards these transformational technologies. And when I ask this question to the industry, the answer is, you are absolutely wrong. We are the best. Our talent is great. Well, all of the rankings about quality of coders, Polish are in the top 3. Correct. But do you know any Polish company, IT company, which operates at the worldwide scale? No, there is none. Do you know any Polish big company with really, really big valuation? And Daseko is not necessarily the answer because they bought a bunch of companies, and even from that perspective, they maybe make number 10 in software in Europe, but Europe is not a player. And at the worldwide level, Polish companies are invisible. So what is the reason to this? And we've started going deeper, and we put in place the working group, which started exploring what needs to be done and what are the challenges of education of our ICT specialists. And we came to the following conclusions, that first of all, there is the problem with collaboration skills. And collaboration skills, we mean social skills, communication skills, project and management skills. And well, there was a presentation about Agile, right? And this is how to write software. But basically, very often it's not about how to write software, but how to implement the system. And implementation of the system brings the organizational change. So if you would like to be successful, you need to understand how implementation of the system need to fit within the greater picture of the organizational change. How is a bridge being built between organization, the business side, and the IT side? And when I ask faculty professors why they are not spending time on this, they say, well, maybe if there are these more advanced skills, which they also do not teach, when these skills need to be developed, they say, well, after achieving master diploma, there is the time when people should progress with their skills. Which means that the education for IT specialists should last longer than 5 years, should be extended to 7 or 8. That's a really great idea. I asked them, okay, so when your students leave university, and then they started complaining, that's a problem, you know, that's a problem. At the second year of studies or third years of studies, they start disappearing. And at the master degree, there are very few of them, because they went to business without completing the study. That's a catastrophe. So basically, if their students are leaving from the second year of studies, so why do they extend the time for lecturing and the time of teaching? They should rather integrate this approach in the course of studies. So the business angle, right? So we have the companies which are great at coding, but we do not have the companies which really well understand the business model, which can do really the great business process analysis, how to implement, how to feed into the business, how to change business. So this missing is not present, and there is also no collaboration between industries. So I will give you the example of, let's take artificial intelligence, right? And let's take some applications of artificial intelligence in financial sector. Right now, the students which are great at IT subjects are entering financial world, and they know nothing about the regulations there. They know nothing about the culture which is in that industry. They know nothing about the standards. And it's very hard for them to very quickly start efficient collaboration. There was the presentation about this Agile, which is like a concept from IT, and A-Spice, which is a concept from Automotive. It was really the presentation about putting together two ways of working on the same problem from two perspectives. Who is teaching this at Polish universities? And this is not only about IT, but it's also about the financial faculties, about the business management, about the, medicine, about every single one. How many inter-faculty projects, how many interdisciplinary things have you done during your studies? And well, there are almost none. And the latest regulations in the way how science is organized make it even harder. At the same time, crushing the silo wall and building the collaboration between the different industries is very, very important. The last thing is ability to develop in the course of career. So we know that digital transformation accelerated, right? And we know that first industrial revolution lasted for 150 years. We know that internet revolution actually went over more or less 20 years. Right now we are in the middle of the digital transformation. We know it will be probably faster than the internet revolution. So maybe in the range of 15 years to really make a very profound impact of the whole economy. So what does it mean? It means that during the first industrial revolution, society needed 4 generations, or could afford 4 generations to, well, adjust attitudes to adopt to the new conditions of the economy. Right now, 1 generation probably will go through 3 to 4 transformations. Most probably, people will have to change their professions 3 to 4 times in their career. Have you got any support? Have you got any well, lecturing, theory, practice about this long life learning, about abilities to how to learn, how to keep learning, and how to continue your development? And that's, universities don't do this. Companies are not best at this. Some do, some don't. And companies which do this usually do this for their top % of talent, maybe 20% of the talent, and not for everybody in the organization. So basically developing the competencies for lifelong learning is absolutely critical. And in the tech industry, there is one interesting phenomena that the technical skills are developed and are very nicely developed in the course of career. There are like the new subjects, the new courses, new certifications happening. People do this. But at the same time, this needs to be put into this context of business, into this context of collaboration, into this context of integration. And that's not so much technical knowledge. That's the knowledge from business side. And this is not offered very often. And I have I have the observation that managers especially do not learn and do not develop. At the INSEAD, I had one of the best professors worldwide from the leadership. And he said that there is, in his 20, 30 years of studying the subject, he said that there is one difference between successful managers and leaders and those who are less successful. Those who are very, very successful, as the leaders and as the managers, they usually spend at least 1 day per week learning. How many of you and how many of us can afford 1 day of learning per week? How many companies allow this? And technical subjects and technical skills are just the part of it, right? So keep this in mind when you are allocating your time. So what we've done, we've extended the model of skills for the information age with a couple of components. So we've added a business and industry perspective. If you would like to work with automotive industry, learn that industry. If you would like to work with the finance, learn finance. Not to the latest detail, but at least to the level that you understand the culture, you can have a good, meaningful conversation, and you can really fuel and build collaboration. There are the collaboration skills. They are very, very important. I used to work for Intel, and Intel here in Gdańsk, not so far away, has one of the biggest R&D centers in Europe. 3,000 engineers and 1,000 other employees. And HR director once told me that our engineers are absolutely best writing the code, the 5,000 lines of code. If anything requires 5,000 lines of code, probably nobody will do it better. But when it takes to solve the problem, to build the 40,000 lines of code, the group of Polish programmers is not so efficient any longer. And very often, and I observed this, the managers for shaping the collaboration, for including this collaboration in the international perspective and in international collaboration chains, very often the managers were coming from the other countries because the Polish programmers are missing or do not have sufficiently developed collaboration skills. And the last element which supports the SOFIA model, these are the lifelong learning skills. So how to keep our potential updated, how to add new topics for learning, and how to allocate time for this. When we look at this from perspective of two industries, this look in this in this way, because the challenges which I have described for ICT industry are the same, just mirrored from perspective of the other industries which are present in the economy. And so basically when we talk, and I talk quite a lot to other industries, automotive industry, financial industry, so we talk about putting together the two silos and breaking the wall between them and intensifying the collaboration. And for example, one of the ideas which I bring to the discussion with the academia is to allow people, when they are at their last year or second from the last, to start doing more and more projects across different industries. So ICT working together with, I don't know, well, financial, or ICT working with the guys from medicine, or from business, or from whatever. Not only to learn about the facts, but also to learn to collaborate with people who are taught differently from perspective of the different knowledge silo. And when we want to apply this to the world of automotive and ICT industries melting together and going through the digital transformation, there are the following challenges which I would like to focus your attention on. So first of all, it's understanding of the logic of digital transformation. This is really something which is going faster, and this is really something which is which has deeper effect than just like a normal development of the industry. The second thing is think about the value of the data. Really, that you can use the same data a million of times and nothing happens to them. Still, in the industry, default model for using data is these are our own data, which probably are the foundation for our competitive advantage. So who owns data? Who owns the data from the infrastructure? Who owns the data from the car? Who owns the data from intelligent transportation systems and so on and so forth? And how these data should be put together and how these data can create even bigger value. This is one of the greatest challenges which we have, and to really understand this and to really solve this dilemma, how to work with the data, we need the work of, well, we need the collaboration, we need a good understanding of the perspectives from both sectors. The second thing is understanding the ecosystem versus controlling the ecosystem. It's impossible, and I will give you the example. I've talked to recently to, it's not the GM any longer, it's PSA, right? So to one of the managers and around of the connected car, they decided that they need more services and to increase the value of the car. We saw these models several times in the course of the presentations today. So they are building 3 or 4 R&D centers, and they will and they will hire probably altogether 12,000 engineers for this. At the same time, if you take approach, which is quite common in the industry, or at least in the ICT, or at least is emerging in the industry, the crowdsourcing one, you may offer the same challenge of creating these services as the contest for everyone who is interested in. And instead of having 12,000 engineers, you may have 120,000 engineers, or maybe 1 million people trying to develop the new services for the car. And these guys are not shaped and not limited by the walls of the silo, the automotive silo. And these guys will approach this, this challenge from God knows how many perspectives. As the result, the services for the car can be much, much better. And here we are not talking about the development of the safety system car. We are talking about the development of apps. And development of apps is not the core competency of the automotive. So if they were smarter, they could really reverse the way of thinking about it. The next thing is understanding of the key technologies. Of course, it is very important to put all of the technologies together. But again, to make this efficiently, we need these people to understand each other. Once I talked to the Schneider Electric guy, the vice president for Europe, and they were working in France. It was like maybe 10 years ago. They were working in France on smart grid. And basically, they created the group of engineers from IT and a group of engineers from smart or grid systems, so the energy sector. And they were working together, and after 2 quarters, 0 results. They were so frustrated. What was the reason? The reason was that these guys didn't understand standards the same way, didn't understand the life cycle of the project. They were talking different language. So understanding of different technologies and melting them together requires this collaboration, and this collaboration requires also some foundations of knowledge. And clearly, if we take a look right now at the key technologies, this is connectivity, this is cybersecurity, this is artificial intelligence, and all technologies which needs to be put around to make it working. Next thing is going beyond physical product. Software-defined everything is one concept, and is very important. It's digital product life cycle, so upgrades and so on and so forth. These topics were mentioned through this conference very often. Different time to market. This is also one of the things which industries needs to understand. So how they develop the product, how they approach the product development, and what are the cycles expected. The cars in the past were working, or the car development was working along the schedules which were much longer than the development in the ICT industry. And the sharing economy. And sharing economy is not only about making cars shareable. It will have also the profound impact on the brands. Do you really care what kind of the driving capsules is coming? Do you really care? Is it coming from BMW, Daimler, Volvo, or anybody else? The research says brands will, in the sharing economy, brands are less and less important. And the last thing is alternatives to car mobility. The drones were mentioned. And I talked recently to people developing drones, and I had the following discussion with one of the top engineers of BMW, and my impression is that our car industry underestimates the potential of drones. Drones are very easy to navigate. They can fly in 3 dimensions. They do not encounter flying cows. They do not encounter kids riding bicycles. And they have, for example, 9 or 12 rotors. So they are very reliable. And basically, it is about having the eyes wide open. From perspective of the council, we are doing the work. We are progressing development of this model, so if you are interested, let us know. We will introduce you to some results of our work. Thank you very much.